I've been doing this for 6 years.
6 years?
6 years.
I would have guessed longer. Oh.
Yeah, but 6 years, it's still long, but even though I'm not a master, I'm still a student.
Yeah.
I'm still learning, so. What I got here, this is a coal forge.
Mm-hmm.
And coal forge, this can get up to over 2,500 degrees, enough to melt the metal. And this could get way hotter, more harder. And what I use in here, this is called a coal. And when I'm burning right down the middle, this is a coke.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a good burning fuel to get it hot. And the coal right here I use, this is a Pennsylvania coal. It's softer coal. I actually get this from the Guild of Metalsmiths up in Anoka at the Minnesota School of Horseshoeing.
Mm-hmm.
And it costs about $8 a bucket if you're a member for a 5-gallon bucket.
So how did you start learning this?
I actually learned this from the blacksmith demonstration over at Farm Fest at the Kiesling farms.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, I always into antique agriculture tools. And that's how I got into blacksmithing. I was thinking, who actually make this stuff? And then since high school, I'm always into antique tools and axes, sledgehammers, and then I come across the blacksmith at the Farm Fest, and that's how I got into it, because I'm always into making tools, and I'm always into things that you actually make stuff out of. So I'm actually part of the Guild of Metalsmiths.
Mm-hmm.
Right here. It's based out of Twin Cities in Wisconsin, and in order to teach classes, you gotta get certified from the Abana group, which is Artist Blacksmith Association from North America.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Using my skills to pass on the next generation of blacksmithing.
Sure.
Blacksmithing, it's kind of like a lost art, dying trade. It's been started in ancient Turkey, about 1500 BC. That's where they found the iron source over there, and then that's where they learned how to smelt the iron. And that's when Iron Age was born, from 1200 BC to 600 BC.
Mm-hmm.
And here's my coal forge, like I explained earlier. And this is my anvil right here. And I always use a hammer. And this is a pure right anvil. This is a London pattern anvil. And what I got here with the anvil, I got the face right here, and this is the bottom. And I got a step right here. And this here, this is called a horn, or also known as a beck. And I got a hardy hole and a pritchel hole. And this back part here, this is called a heel of the anvil. And what I got here, these are my chisels, these are my fullers. I got eye socket here, and this is my little nose punch here. And this is my angle chisel right here. Got some of this cold chisel right here, and this is a slot punch right here. And this is another slot punch, and these are drifts. And this drift here, this makes it a whole lot bigger. And this is a hammer eye drift to make a hole to make a hole bigger for the hammer. And this is a hot chisel. And compared to cold chisel, hot chisel are more steeper angle. It's about, I would say, about 30 degrees of the angle, while cold chisels are more blunt. And cold chisels are for to make marks instead of cutting. This is for cutting use, and you got to get the metal hot enough to cut through the metal. And this this right here, you got a hot chisel right here, and then you got another sharp chisel here. And the other side, this is a blunt, a fuller, to get rid of all the sharp corners of the chisel, and I could be able to hit it with the hammer like this. And what I got here, these are tongues. This is a farrier tongue, and this is a wolf jaw tongue. The one I got here, I'm using right now, this is called the box tongue. I actually forged this just recently. This is the 3/4 inch type. This is the 1/4 inch by 3/4 inch, and I could be able to slide this tongue right in here, and it doesn't go anywhere when I forge it. These tools, wherever I got, these are the bottom swage tools, and these are scroll. These are hardy tools right here. These are the bottom swages. These are the scroll, or to make a nice scroll type. Even with this too, and these are the hardy. This is a chisel hardy to make a hot cut with it. Right here I got ball peen hammers, and this right here, this is called a rounding hammer. It's flat on one side and it's round on the other. And I got a flatter right here. And I got the top swedge, and you put it over the bottom swedge, like for example. To put this top and bottom like this. I usually don't use it that very much, but I usually use mostly the bottom swedge and the top swedge.
And those tools, they slot into those holes on the anvil?
Yeah, and these hardy tools that can go into
the hardy hole. Okay.
Yeah. And this here, I got the fuller, and you have a hammer, and what it does is you just can be able to make a pattern like this. And sometimes it comes with the bottom fuller like this that goes in the hardy hole. And you use that to make a nice fuller. This year I got different pair of tongues. This one I just made that just recently. This is for a 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch square stock. And I could be able to use 1 inch. It works just fine.
So where do you get the metal?
I usually get it from the scrap yard, or I could be able find one in the hardware store. They got, if you're looking for a specific metal types, you could go to the hardware store. But basically back then, all they had to make is a lot bigger stuff, and sometimes they have to forge it down to a certain size. Yeah. It comes in 3 types. It comes with a big square stock, big round stock, and the flat stock. And sometimes you have to find ways to forge it down to make it right size. But nowadays, you could be able to use all the certain metals from hardware stores, and a lot of scrap yards, even if it's rusty or not, you could be able to get all the metal types in the scrap yard. And there's certain types of metals. There's wrought iron, and there's mild steel. There's 4140 to 5160 steel, and you got 1040 steel, which is a high carbon blade steel. This here, right in here, this is called the borax. The borax, it's actually, what it does is it's like a flux they use to forge weld together, and then you have to get it up to the nice red to orange heat to put the flux on to get it to stick, and then you gotta put it back in the fire and then get it crank up a little bit more until you get up to over 2100 degrees, enough to get metal to get white, and then it's starting to spark. And a lot of times you have to look down into the fire to make sure you're not burning some of the material, but making the the metal looks wet. If it's not wet, it cannot weld. And without the borax or flux, it cannot weld, except it could break apart. And I got certain tools here. This is a Farrier's rasp. And what I got here, this is the golf ball. What it does is it just makes it easier to work with it, and without having to handle it, it can poke a hand right through it, and that's why golf ball, it comes in handy. I always bring the hacksaw to cut the metal with, and this is a twisting wrench, and I could be able to get the metal up to red to orange color, and then put it in the vise, and I could be able to twist it. What I did is I have the bandsaw at home, and before that I always cut the center line first, and then afterwards I just run the saw and just cut. Before twisting, you cut it right through, and then you get in the forge, and then just put that get in the forge and get this red hot, and then put it on the vise and get a twist, and makes a nice staircase pattern. And right in the middle, this is a pineapple pattern. And what I got here, this is a basket twist. You do the same thing like doing the twist. You do it clockwise to get it tight, and then put it back in the fire, and then go counterclockwise, and it opens up. Well, I would say my favorite things to make is tools.
Tools, yeah.
Making tools. One reason I love making tools is because you'll be able to learn how to heat treat, and then learn how to see the color on that tempering part to check the hardness on that chisel, punches. Let me give you an example right here. When I do a chisel, I usually forge it out first, and then forge it until you get a nice pattern of a chisel or punch, whatever you like. But it doesn't have to get exactly detailed until, and then the next step, you put it back in the fire, you anneal it. Anneal it, and it's basically get the metal right up to the cherry red color, and then you stick it into either wood ash or the cement, and once I get that anneal, and then I can take a device and then get into the right profile with the file or a grinder, and then I get it back in the fire, and then I also get it up to the orange heat, and then I quench it in oil. But you can quench it in water, but I wouldn't recommend using water to quench blade steel, but you can quench it with the tool steel. It could still work, but I would recommend using the canola oil or a peanut oil. But a lot of times people are allergic to peanut oil because they're allergic to peanuts.
Yeah.
I usually try to quench it down. This metal could get up to the orange part, about bright red to orange, and then you quench it in oil. You always want to quench it about inch down here, and then 3/4 inch roughly around here. But you don't want to quench it all the way through, but you want to quench it partially, and then you got to quench it back and forth like this in there.
Does that cool it faster if you move it around because it's not?
Well, yeah, and also it leaves a red part, and then the next step is tempering. That's why you always want to leave this red, and then I could be able to take a sharpening stone and just scrub it right here to get all the scales off. You'd be able to see the color running down slowly. This down right here, the straw color, yellow to straw color, this is where the chisel is. And then right up to the brownish color right here, this is where you have the punches or the drifts, but it could get up all the way to the brown color, and that's where it stops. But purple and bluish color, but beyond that, it could get really brittle, and then sometimes it can break the metal. That's why you always want to get up to that color right to the end, about straw to brown color, and then quench it.